And here we are, the final wave of the Zacian boss rush event, and probably the last one for a good while. Even though these were temporary guides for when they were current, there is a chance these bosses could return in the future. As always, this video will help you understand each boss mechanic, how to dodge and optimize damage against them. Here are the final week's modifiers for each boss fight as well. And with all that said and done, let's chip away at these last bosses. Avalugg. An overall straightforward boss for the most part, but it can be annoying when it combines some of its moves together. Its first move is Icy Wind. Avalugg will target a random player and mark a large cone in front of it that will cover a good portion of the field and deal heavy damage, plus freezing anyone standing in that area. Like with most bosses that have cone attacks, the closer you are to the boss, the quicker you'll be able to strafe away from potential damage. Whereas the farther away you are, the more distance you'll have to strafe to avoid it. One strat is to have your defender tank take the boss to the edge of a map and have your group spread somewhat apart so when Icy Wind targets anyone, you'll have a much easier time dodging. This positioning will also help for its other moves like Rapid Spin. This will mark a red circle around Avalugg while it stays put and then spins rapidly. Anyone caught within the circle will be knocked back a fair amount of distance and take decent damage. This move can be troublesome for melee, but it'll be even more obnoxious to deal with when Avalugg uses another move while rapid spinning called Iron Defense. Iron shields will surround the boss. While not initially threatening, it can be irritating while trying to avoid rapid spin, as the shields are solid objects that will block your path and even push you with them as they rotate around Avalugg. While this can be a struggle for melee, ranged Pokemon will also need to time their basic attacks and their moves perfectly, so any of their attacks that have projectiles that travel towards Avalugg will hit it. If you hit the shield, it will completely block your attacks when struck. Ranged can also go up and hug the boss, which would put you inside the shields, but you'll need to quickly run out if a Rapid Spin or an Icy Wind starts up. Certain Pokemon's moves like Psyshock from Gardevoir don't need to travel towards the boss and will easily damage this boss without being blocked by Iron Defense. Regice. This Regi has some wacky moves that will cause your team to most likely slip up from time to time. Surprisingly, the more you stand still during certain parts of this fight, the better off your group will be. Having one healer support with good damage like Eldegoss or Mr. Mime will definitely help during this fight. Regice will usually start off with Blizzard, which is another circular ring move like past bosses in this mode, but this one covers two portions of the entire field. It will either start from the center with Regice or outside around the outer part of the map, inside then out or outside then in. Pretty much just be ready to move away or move close to Regice when this occurs. Blizzard deals decent damage and will freeze you for a couple seconds as well. Icy Wind. Once again, like Regirock's Earthquake and Registeel's Bulldoze, this move will hit the entire field for unavoidable AoE damage that you'll need to endure with Citrus Berries, self-healing, or a support with healing. Icicle Spear. 2 to 4 spears will appear around players and mark a line that will follow each player and then fire a fast-moving spear that will pierce through players and deal heavy damage. If you have most of your health, or you have ways to self-heal during the fight, the best way to deal with this is to be spread from your group members and just take the hit. If you want to try to dodge this, you can, but I don't really recommend it. It requires you to move directly far away from it and then quickly sidestep or dash as soon as the line disappears and the projectile starts flying towards you. But the risk of doing this is that you could line it up with some other person that will most likely kill them while they are dealing with their own spear as well. If you want to try to move and dodge it, just make sure you have enough distance between you and other marked players. Hail. Regice will cast and mark 2 long lines in the corners of the map in an L shape that covers the entire length and width of their marks. These deal heavy damage when standing in them and will kill you in 3 to 4 ticks of standing in it. This move initially doesn't seem like a big deal since it's on the corners of the map, but it will be troublesome when combined with its last move, Frost Breath. Regice's signature move that will combo with its other moves. This boss will move to the center of the room if not there already, and then cast Frost Breath, which will freeze the entire map for roughly 5 or so seconds. The slightest movement from your character, even just a single footstep forward, will send your character flying across the map. Kinda like older mainline Pokemon games with their ice movement puzzles. When the field is encased with ice, this will make dodging other moves much harder, especially if you end up flying into hail lines, which will wipe you easily. If you absolutely must move, be very aware where hail was and where your allies are. It is very important to stand still as much as you can. This is a viable strat we found, which you will have your group spread evenly around the boss before the breath hits and just melt the boss. Blizzard doesn't hurt as much, and if your group is spread around the boss, you can spread out the spears as well. But overall, it's still pretty funny to see your teammates slipping and sliding out of control because of the ice. The final boss? Zacian. Now that your group has escaped Regice's skating rink, Zacian will prove to be more challenging. Of all bosses, she will actually require a fair amount of coordination with your group to reduce as much damage taken as possible. Zacian also has a crowned sword form, which will not only introduce some new moves, but also empower a couple of her regular form of moves during the fight and be even more deadly. Zacian will jump from the center of the room towards the top corner of the map and begin casting Ironhead. This move will mark all players with a number from 1 to 5, and a line of arrows will point from her towards player 1 and until all 5 players have been hit. The arrows from her will follow the marked player anywhere they move till she starts charging towards the player and do heavy damage. Players caught in her line of sight between her and the marked player will also be hit by Ironhead. Either strafe away from the group quickly, or if you're well enough away from the group already, stand still so your group can move away from the arrows. Also try to shorten your line of arrows by walking directly towards Zacian so she doesn't have to go leaping all across the map and reducing your group's damage against her. Zacian will then leap back to the center of the map and use Psycho Cut. Her regular form will throw out 2 sets of 3 Psycho Cut blades that will cover 2 portions of the map like a 90-degree angle. These blades will stay at the outer edges of the map for a considerable amount of time and then return back to her. Anyone caught in their pathing throughout will of course take heavy damage. While we are still on Psycho Cut, we also need to talk about Metal Claw, which will usually follow after Psycho Cut. While the 2 portions of the map are covered by Psycho Cut, Zacian will then choose another angle of the map and charge up a large red indicator and do fatal damage. The best way to dodge both of these attacks is to be close to Zacian, which will allow you to quickly adjust to whichever angle is clear of potential damage. Another way is to be in between the 2 Psycho Cut edges at the diagonal parts of the map, as the blades will not hit you there, but it is pretty thin and not really recommended. This is mostly just in case if you happen to be on the other part of the map. Once Zacian reaches around 69% or lower, Phase 2 will begin as she becomes untargetable and then transform into her crowned sword form. Immediately, she will then leap over to any of the 4 corners of the room and begin casting Behemoth Blade. This is her ultimate move that will absolutely annihilate or one-shot anyone who is unprotected. To counter this, one of your group members needs to pick up the Aos shield in the center of the room and then turn it and aim it towards Zacian. This shield replaces your battle item temporarily, and you need to try your best to press your battle item button as soon as she starts swinging her sword, or at 0.5 to 0.3 seconds left of her cast bar. If you time it, congrats! You will have blocked all of Behemoth Blade's damage to you and your group as long as everyone is stacked behind you. If you can't time it, just aiming the shield towards her and covering your group will reduce Behemoth Blade's damage, but it will still hurt a lot overall. And just like Ancient Power, you can also interrupt and lock out Behemoth Blade with Slow Bros Unite or when the stun meter is filled during the cast. This is an optimal way to get some massive damage against her, as the Behemoth Blade attack cuts down damage uptime significantly. After that potentially catastrophic move, she will then usually leap to a corner of the map again and use Sacred Sword. This move is similar to Ironhead from before, but with one major difference. Not only does she charge and hit you, she will also mark a frontal cone in front of her and slice anyone in it for an insane amount of damage, if not pretty much one-shotting you. Position yourself away from everybody, or better yet, towards a wall to minimize the cone of her attack. This version of Psycho Cut only has her throw 1 set of blades at a time, but she will cover all 4 sections of the map from either north, south, east, or west. And like before, she will usually cast Metal Claw, but this time covering any direction she chooses. The best way to not get hit by these Psycho Cut blades when they return to her is to pay attention to the order of areas that she threw the blades in and keep your character in that general direction as much as possible. If you follow her pattern, she will pull back her set of 3 blades in the same order that she first threw them out. Once she pulls back her first set of triple blades, immediately head to that area so you can avoid the remaining 3 sets of triple blades, but again, be careful of Metal Claw that could cover that area also. During the Psycho Cut, she also could use one of her 2 remaining moves, Brutal Swing and Play Rough. Brutal Swing is a large outer circle move that will swing around her and hit anyone standing in that outer circle. Her inner circle inside her is safe from damage. Simply have your group run towards her and stack. And right after that, she will also use Play Rough, which is pretty much the opposite of Brutal Swing, and the inner circle is now the danger zone. Simply move away from her and be outside that inner circle. The entire Zacian boss rush guide is now complete. As a veteran MMORPG player, I've really enjoyed making these guides, which have given me so much inspiration to create these. If you've enjoyed these guides, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll be making other Unite related videos in the meantime. But hopefully Boss Rush will return again one day. Thanks so much to everyone that has helped me make these guides, and to every one of you for watching these. I'll see you next time. Farewell.